Welcome to the show, and our today's guest is a CEO and co-founder of Global Skills Hub, a company designed to build custom tech talent pipelines for Canadian companies by outsourcing the world's best tech talents. And over the past 3 years, Global Skills Hub has successfully helped international senior tech talents bring their tech careers to Canada. So, like the guest speaker we have right now, he drives the company's core mission, which is to unite people to solve life's greatest challenges by leveraging his network to connect people that are ready and willing to help Canada's newcomers. And he is none other than Yousuf Khatib. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing awesome, Hamid. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine as well. Like I'm feeling amazing to have you on the show. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you.
Yeah. So a bit of background from my end. So how we connected in the past was basically like I reached out to Yousuf sir, and he actually mentored me. He was my first mentor, and yeah, that's how we met. And yeah, things are going really good from then. So
I think I want to add to that. I think you reached out to me. It would have been last year, and at the time you had sent such a professional, cold LinkedIn message to me, introducing yourselves, and I was so impressed by the message because I've had a background in growth and sales and stuff for so long. When I saw your message, I was like, "Well, this is really well written." And when I looked further and I figured out, and I was like, this is not written by someone who's 30, 40, 50, 60 years old of experience. And when we delved further, I realized that, you were just kind of starting out in your career and you had these big ambitions and dreams. And so I'm excited to do this with you, as well as hopefully kind of watch you grow as you do more and more of this stuff throughout the years.
Yeah. So basically at first I want to thank you for even being my mentor at the first thing. So at that time when you actually said you want to be my mentor, I didn't knew that there's something called mentorship. Honestly, I didn't know even the word mentor at that time. So things have been pretty good since then. And so now let's come to the podcast now. So tell us about, how did you reach the point you are right now? And tell us about the journey you went through.
So in terms of becoming an entrepreneur or with our company here today?
Summarize the whole process. So from where you started as a person to where you are at right now.
Okay. Well, that's a long journey, but look, I've always been interested in making an impact, and entrepreneurship is I love it. It juices me. I love building businesses. I love being a part of a business, and I love playing on a team. And you talked about our core mission of being uniting people to solve life's greatest challenges. When we sat down and kind of thought about that, and I sat down and thought about that, I was like, look, there's all these challenges that people face, and within the industries that I've been involved with, it's really just a question of bringing networks of people together, who have expertise, and then going out there and going from there. So I kind of started my journey off in entrepreneurship. I was in computer networking. I was doing a diploma, and was really, really unhappy. And I would have graduated during the last technology bubble that we hear about in 2001, 2002. So at that time, I decided to get involved in a insurance business opportunity. It was kind of a really interesting model, hybrid between a bit of a multi-level marketing company as well as a very powerful model, which exists today inside of real estate and insurance. And so we did that and quickly learned a lot, was mentored by some great people. And I would go on to spend the next 10 years recruiting and building agents to work in the life insurance and investment industry. So I was able to do about 600 people brought into the industry for that. From there, I was able to, I decided to get involved in the global tech scene. And so opportunities were coming up upon themselves, and ended up in Bangladesh as well. So we did my first startup in Bangladesh. And then, that was kind of really my entrance into there. And so back in 2017, I decided, after I'd been traveling for a few years, living in various countries, that I wanted to come back to Canada. I had kids, I was married, and I wanted to, settle back here. And so, I just landed in Canada for a conference with a very open mind, looking for a business opportunity. And I sent out a bunch of cold emails. One of those cold emails would land on, a person who's now become, one of my good friends, mentors, business partners, and first investors in Global Skills Hub. And so what we've done today, what Global Skills Hub is we, saw this massive opportunity as the government was making a change inside of the work permit laws for tech workers. So if you were hired by a tech company, you could get your work permit processed inside of a 2-week expedited fashion. It was going to be super simplified for the company, super simplified for the candidate. And, we both kind of saw that. We drew out a model. And, we thought about all the barriers that would happen. And one of the largest barriers at that time was going to be this whole concept of virtual recruitment and virtual onboarding. And, so everything that everyone's doing right now, or forced to learn how to do right now because of what COVID has done, is actually what we were talking to everyone back about in 2017, 2018. And so throughout the last couple of years, we've helped supply tech talents to some of the some of Canada's best and top tech companies. We worked with TWG, which was just acquired by Deloitte a little while ago, or partnered with Deloitte. We worked with Loblaw Digital. We've worked with FreshBooks. We've worked with Wave Financial, Palmerex. The list goes on of these incredible companies. And as a result, we've been able to bring people to Canada and see their lives completely change. I talk to a lot of our people that we've brought to the country here all the time. And, there's buying houses, they're getting their permanent residencies, there's babies being born, and so on and so forth. So we've made this incredible impact kind of all the way while driving, initiatives that further increase the diversity and inclusion of companies within the tech space.
Interesting, very interesting. So like the first thing that came to my mind when you mentioned that you started like this process on 2017, but at that time people were not actually thinking about recruiting internationally or like let's say virtually from other countries, but because of COVID they have to. So how did you like manage people, or like let's say convince people that this is a good way, like this is a better way to hire international talents and to attract more people? So what did you do to attract other businesses to attract, like let's say, hire people from outside of Canada?
When you're building a business, and especially if you're building a business, in any vertical, but this is kind of one of the things that I learned being around the tech industry, is that you look for challenges that, companies or the customer is having, and then you co-build the solution with them. So it's not like, hey, we know exactly what to do, we're going to come to you and give you the solution, and all of a sudden we're going to make $1 million. You go in there and you look for, people that can become your early adopters. And, we've all talked about that adoption curve and so on. But, you go in there, and we were very, very fortunate. We were extremely, blessed to have these types of partnerships right from the beginning. And so what would happen is we'd go in there and be like, okay, we want to do this. What's the largest problem you have right now? The largest problem is we are in one of the most competitive and scarce talent wars ever in history. And, and that was the situation in Canada in 2017. And now it's the situation across the entire world in 2021. And so we said, like, how do we do this? How do we fix the immigration? I sat down with immigration lawyers. I sat down with some of the top firms in this country and learned. We partnered with some of them. We worked with a lot of we learned every aspect of this by hey, here's the problem. Here's how we fix it. Let's make sure we don't have this problem again. And we worked with our clients, and we developed and figured out, what's kind of that minimum viable product that, they talk about. And, what does it take to get someone to, I'm a company, I don't have enough developers. Okay. How do I find the world's best top talent that want to work for me? And on the other side, you have people who are highly motivated to want to come to Canada, have incredible technical skills and communication skills. And how do we get them together in a way that's as simple as humanly possible? And, that's how we built a company.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. So you've mentioned a lot about partnering up. So let's say like a new company is emerging, and like for most of the companies, so getting the right partner, or like let's say for legal support or any other process, is hard. Hard in context of on one side meeting the people, and on the other side actually like making them know that this would be a good fit for us, like we are a good match. So how did you? Yeah.
So I think a lot of times in the beginning, people, when you're trying to build a business, and depending on what you're trying to build, you need to go to your customers that you think are going to be your customers, and you're looking for the people that are having the greatest challenge that your solution can solve. And you just open up. The first part of this isn't to try to sell them something, to try to make money or do any of that stuff. The beginning part of the business is to find out information, to listen. I'm in my sales career in the past, I was taught that you have 2 ears and you have 1 mouth. So you got to listen twice as much as you talk, right? And so, from that perspective, that you go out there and you listen, okay, say here, and then you kind of provide them, a solution that works, and say, okay, what if we did it this way? Would this work? And you kind of go back from there. But finding those first people is like, who's having the problem that that you think you can solve right now. You just got to open up conversations with them.
Okay. So the thing is, like, how do you open up conversation with the right people? So let's say I identified these are the people I gonna target, or like this would be right from my end. So how should I approach them and open up the conversation?
Yeah, I think there's you want to approach them with, finding out either via like things like surveys, or you're finding out information, or you're providing them some sort of value. So if it's enough of a pain point, they're actually open to having a conversation with you. And so that's what you want to do. Now, I think it also depends on the context of the business that you're in when you're trying to do that as well. So if you're trying to build something to solve a specific problem, it should be easy to find people that are having this challenge. If you're selling services, which is a whole different thing. If you're selling software development agency, or if you're selling like recruitment services and stuff like that, you need to then figure out, that's a different thing. That's a how do I go to market with those services and differentiate myself between everyone else, right? That versus I'm trying to build something. We didn't know anything about this industry except for the experiences we'd had with it. I'd had a massive recruitment background. Back in 2016, 2017, I couldn't tell you the difference between Ruby on Rails and Python. And I always joke around that Python I thought was a snake until I entered the tech industry. And so, I'm having conversations with clients, and I did not understand the of what a framework was. And so I'm reading and learning all the time, and I finally found a course on all these terms, and I went and I took that course. Right, just so I can understand, the things that we do. One of the, I'll tell you a really funny story. We have a process, and we've since gotten rid of it because we're so good at it now. But one of the processes we used to do was something called a calibration. And what the calibration was we used to come back with the profile, and we would be like, hey, we're going to show you this profile. You tell me if there's any red flags, as if this isn't the way you're looking for or not. The reason I learned how to do that calibration was in the beginning, I had to have them tell me if this resume was way off or not, because I was learning how to match. Does that kind of make sense? So you're learning as you go with all these things.
Yeah. Learning is actually a very big part especially at the beginning when.
Learning is constant. Okay. I just got out of a meeting this morning where I was sitting there and I've introduced two very, important, powerful parties in order to help solve a solution that they're and I don't know the intricacies of this, solution that they're working on. I just know that it works based on, other conversations and the major pain point, the 30,000 foot level pain point that it causes. And I'm sitting there writing furiously notes during the meeting of terms that I want to go and, learn about afterwards, just so I can, take my knowledge in there. So learning is constant. That's one of the most important things you can do.
Okay. So this was actually the question at the end as well. So which was actually what's learning and like education to you? Like that's the question I always ask to the guests. So you already mentioned what this is. So like let's.
Yeah, I think, I'll add something to that. And this is one thing I'm a big proponent of, because I had this challenge in my life as well, is you need to learn how you learn. Okay. Everyone has a way that they study and absorb information and so on and so forth. Sometimes we're boxed into thinking that you need to like study and read and read and read and read and write notes or something, or we went through school. But I think, the day that I figured out how I learned something, and it requires me to read it and write it out and make some notes around it. The way I learn, that is the most important thing you can do right now, because then it's easy for you to set up a system of learning for yourself. You set up your own schooling.
Okay, interesting. So I'm not sure what your process of learning is. So for me, like as I was starting out, like even like I didn't know anything. Like that's it, basically the truth. Now, for my perspective, so I need to learn a lot and I need to learn fast. Like on my head, I was like, I need to learn all these things, like, and I have to make this in a very short time. So how can I do it? So like I cannot read books. The fact is like once like I don't know, like it was I guess 16 to 2016 or 7, not 16, maybe 17 or 18 at the time. So there was a book, you can do it, or like maybe you can do it, like that was a title. And I read, it was around 260, not 200, I guess 200 pages. And I was able to read 60 pages, and it took like a long time, a very long time. So I'm not used to reading any books. So, and right, and last year I have to learn a lot, like a lot of things, like from business side or finance side or economics, let's say all these things. So I have to learn. So what can I do? So my power was to like, I can learn a lot, but like I cannot read. So what can I do? I can listen. So what I did was like, I downloaded the books. This is what I do. I use Microsoft Edge to open the PDF and just play read aloud. So like the book is being read and like I'm listening to it. I'm like making notes, and that's how, I'm not sure how many, like I think I read more than 50 or 60 books, like through like in three, like I started mainly learning on like November, and or throughout the process I stopped reading for 1 month in the middle. But in that process I read 50 or 60 books, you can say, like completed, like on various topics.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's just opening up. Like, look, one thing is be mindful of time, because you said you're trying to do everything quickly, and you got to also enjoy the journey that you're on. It's not like you're going to hit some success point and all of a sudden you're going to be like, whoa, this is it, I've arrived, right? Like, it's going to be like you're going to go through this journey throughout your life, and there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and there's going to be points where you're going to need to learn about something. So my suggestion to you or someone, and is that align your learning with your goals. Okay. So your first and most important thing that you need to figure out is, what are your goals, right? Sit down and figure those goals out, write them down in specificity, and then, repeat them to yourselves on a daily or weekly or monthly or quarterly basis, but all your learning should just be aligned to your goals, of who you are and who you want to become, and what the things that you want to have, the imprint and the values that you want to live your life with, and the movement that you want to have in terms of the impact on this world, what you're meant here to do. All these great questions that you'll go through in your life journey, but align them, because it's also possible to read and acquire too much knowledge, not acquire too much knowledge, but like read too much for the sake of reading, and then you're not applying anything. And so I had a friend of mine, his name was Jeff Levitan, and he was from Chicago, and he was a great gentleman, and he would I'm not sure where he's off to lately, but he's in the financial industry, a very, very powerful force there. And he always used to say he used to take these like breaks from reading, because what he was just getting to a point where he was just reading, constantly listening, and he was just like, he wanted to get a little bit more intentional on his reading. And I remember having that conversation with him, and it was it served me well throughout my life.
Okay, it's about taking breaks in between learning. Yeah,
taking breaks, but not so much to taking breaks to actually apply the learning. It's one thing to listen to 50 books in a year, but how do you know what have you applied from what you're listening? And that's why it goes back to that comment of align this with your goals.
Okay. Yeah, so I think I was lucky from my end. So I did the exact same thing. I'm not sure if I did the whole thing. So there are a few things, like I wrote down the goals. Like I didn't wrote, but mentally wrote down the goals. So let's say I was pivoting from one sector to another, you can say, and I need to learn more about branding. So, and what was the goal? To create a framework. So create a framework so that I can use it as a reference point to help other companies. So the first thing that I did was like ask a lot of people what the problem was before actually reading anything.
Right.
And then identifying what the problem was, then creating the framework, the best would be like learning about different topics related to branding, or like marketing is also part of it, or sales is also a part of it. So then learning it, like, and creating mainly and the break that I take, like from November, I'm not sure, in November, I guess in 15 or November 5th or 6th, I started reading, like competition started. So on that month, I read around like 20, I guess. That for me, that was a lot, because I'm not used to like learning anything. I learned, but not through books. And on December, I almost said nothing, you can say. Focus mainly on creating the framework and like redoing it, then applying it, redoing it, then again redoing it. So what can be made better,
right?
And learning new things based on that. So okay, now I have the framework. So now what I have to do? So the next thing I have to do, like, get better at sales as well. Those sales is mainly like learn through selling stuff, but like I also can learn from other people who actually who are good at sales, right? So I think in January I didn't knew anyone that much, so I got the books of Grant Cardone, like the 5 books which he had. I didn't finish the one which was the book on just closing. I didn't finish that. There half the books remaining. I think that's the only book I didn't finish. So like I learned that and we started applying on the business. So like what can I do? And mainly I learned the question through that. Like the art of actually questioning people or like following up. Like I don't know anything about it. Like I used to think, let's say, it is bad to like asking someone again and again, but it's also yeah. So it's also about you're following up about it. Like there is a difference. There is a big difference between someone who needs it or like who thinks he doesn't need it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely there's definitely there's an art to following up. I think it's what's been throughout my career, which has really been an important part, is that I, learned how to follow up. And it's following up is not about being annoying, which is what everyone thinks. It's about, until you get like a no, you're really just getting a not right now.
Okay.
And so you're just following up and you're just keeping up, because maybe that challenge will arrive. All it is that whatever you're offering right now, they either don't see enough value in it or they don't need it. And so that's it. And so, they used to say that human beings are motivated by either pain or pleasure, right? Like Anthony Robbins talks about that all the time. And he's like, so they either want to avoid pain or they want more pleasure in their life. And so they make decisions based on those things. So you got to follow up. People are busier than they've ever been before. I jump off of a call and there's 15 new emails in my inbox. If I'm having a busy day, where do you think, I'm going to put my focus is on my priorities. And so, for a while there were people saying, I'm bumping this back up to your inbox. I think I even used that a couple of times, but it was true, because that's actually what you were doing. And now everyone just uses it. And it's kind of annoying, but like there is this, these are all parts of the business that you're going to need to learn, stuff like that. The greatest education you can get is probably going to be in how to acquire, a customer or relationship that you need. It's important. But, one thing that you can look at is you also want to figure out through this process is, what do you like to do? What do you love to do? What are you great at? And it's important for you to get, a 360 view of your business, but only to a point where you can be like, I'm going to bring in expertise. I'm going to bring in people that are smarter than me to take care of this portion, and so on and so forth. And, you get up to that point that you're building it out.
Yeah. Okay. It's about like being an expertise on the table.
Yeah. You don't have to be the expert in everything.
But one topic. You have to get like one topic, and that's good enough.
Well, I don't know if it's one topic anymore that's good enough, because we live in a world where things change so fast, right? So I think you need to be passionate about one area that you love to do. And maybe it's like, some people love talking and building relationships and networking and doing all that stuff, and marketing and podcasts and all that stuff. All parts of our life that we need to do at some point as well. And then there's other people that would, are just geniuses at other parts. Like, some people love looking at a spreadsheet and they look at it and they figure it out. And how that is such an important impact, whether that's the financial forecast and so on. And other people like me are just like, show me the information, box it up, let's go. What's the action step we need to take? And go from there.
Okay. So here, a question that came to my mind was like, you mentioned that you have to see that these are the action steps you have to take, basically. So what if you don't know anything yet? So like, what's the action step you need to take? So how can you plan that?
Okay. So
the reason the reason I asked that, there are two kind of people. So like, one type of people who say like, I can take action, and there's another set of people who say like, I need I don't know what to do. Like, you need to give me a plan. Like, you give a plan or I can do it. Like, that's the only way I can work, is like, I need a plan or I can't do it.
Yeah. So there's some people that, they like uncertainty, chaos, they like ambiguity, and they can work with that. And some people are very, I need a plan in front of me. So I think it's definitely it's definitely a mix of both. There's that saying, how does it go? It goes like, vision without action is a daydream, but action without vision is a nightmare. So, I'll say that again. It says a vision without action is a daydream, but action without vision is a nightmare. And so, you need to have a plan in place. Everyone needs to know which direction we're all rowing in, where are we headed? And once that plan's in place, then you got to embrace that along that way, you're going to have a lot of uncertainty. So, that's what startup life is all about. I think, there's that saying, right? It's like, one does not consent to losing sight of the shore. So one does not consent to, one does not discover new shores without losing consent of finding or visiting that. I've totally massacred this quote. We need to find it. And at the end of the podcast, we're going to go look it up. But it's something on those like you lose sight of the shore when you're looking for a new shore, and so that you're just in this ambiguity all the time. And some of us are like that. Some of us thrive in that arena. Like, I know that there's points in my life where I was like, I thrive when it's completely like, I'm okay with that. I can deal with that, and now there's certain parts of my life, and, now I'm maturing and getting a bit, more responsible, as they say. So, there's certain other parts of my life where I'm like, okay, wait, we got to make sure this is certain. I got kids and I got, stuff. So that we go through those balances and imbalances throughout our life.
Okay, really interesting. Okay, so we are moving let's pivot the topic, because we are getting very deep on the education and learning side, and we have to talk about different topics as well. So the things I'm moving towards the employment basically. So how did COVID affected? So before COVID, there was a process, people didn't knew that, but people started to knew these things. So during COVID, how is the ecosystem of Canada has been affected, employment ecosystem or the tech ecosystem? And is the situation for candidates, is it better for them to work or move to Canada now, or is it worse for them?
Look, I can only speak to what I work with on a daily basis. Okay. Yeah. And I know that today we are in one of the most competitive and scarce tech talent situations in Canada that we've ever seen. Okay. And specifically for people that have 5, 6, 7 years of experience and above, and have come from some sort of startup or scale up type of environment. Okay. And everything, every shapes and sizes and colors and all those beautiful things that make us human. We are open in Canada right now. We are looking. Okay. There has never been a better time to get hired by a Canadian company, because the competitiveness that is available there in terms of, the companies that are really taking this remote first approach, we've been working with is a program called Remote to Permanent. And what that means is you start off remotely, we process your immigration paperwork, borders are there, quarantines are happening, vaccines, and all this stuff is happening. So you're working for a Canadian company, and then boom, your immigration gets approved, and you land in Canada as a full-time and, get your work permit and land as a full-time employee. So if you have great communication skills, you can articulate yourself clearly, and you've got 5, 6, 7 years of experience as a full stack developer, back-end developers, front-end developers, mobile developers, DevOps, machine learning engineers, or a data scientist, and you're 5, 6, 7 years of experience or above, best time ever. And it's going to continue to rise and get better. But companies are, I'm doing multiple events for large companies over the next, few weeks and months. They've centralized their locations and they're focused on recruiting from those locations, and so on. And, you'll see a bunch of this stuff come out in the media over the next few weeks as well.
Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting. So it's all compared to the need, that there are not enough people, that's the thing, not enough tech talents in Canada yet. So
we have some great talent, but we have companies that are scaling very fast. We also have a lot of companies that are looking at Canada as a more attractive environment to recruit, developers as well. And so we've seen a lot of companies from the US move their operations to Canada as well. We've seen big names being announced over the last little while, and and as well as, so those companies come into a market, they dominate the recruitment because they have deeper pockets, and they pull from the local market. And also they pull, people that are, there was a time when no one would touch anyone with, like a work permit situation and so on and so forth. And now people are actively seeking out solutions like ours in order to help with that process.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's the true. Like the bigger companies get the more attention. Like the people have this idea that working with the bigger companies, let's say Google, okay, that's the best thing in the world. Like,
yeah,
but yeah.
Look, software developers right now, and they're the athletes of this era. They have the ability to kind of, like, if they're playing at their top of their game and they're playing that, they can write their own tickets. And so this is an important thing to understand. And if you're looking to come to Canada, you're highly motivated to come to Canada, and you have those things that I chatted about, then I think it's important for you to look at this seriously and be like, okay, I can start. And the best part about Canada is it gives you a pathway to permanent residency. And so what does that mean? Well, a pathway to permanent residency means that I could be in the US, I get my H-1B visa, and then I'm waiting for a green card application. It's all a lottery system, and I have no idea when it's ever going to happen. I've heard stories that based on current backlogs, an Indian national has a 53-year wait for a green card. Or I can come to Canada under a global talent stream, as an example, 2-year closed work permit. My spouse or partner gets an open work permit. So, they can work from day one. And, I get points for my PR application, and most people will apply for permanent residency after a year and become PRs. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that they become PRs and leave. That's a situation. I mean, the average tenure in the software industry right now is 18 months anyways. Right.
Okay.
And so you have these people that, whether you're local or you're not, and we've had stories and incredible people, like, if you go onto our website, you'll see this incredible story about a young lady named Hafsa who emigrated from Pakistan. She's become a PR. She's bought a place. She's been promoted, and she's still with the same company, which was just acquired by Deloitte. So, like the Deloitte Digital. So, you think about that and you're like, wow, like that's, this is a journey that's possible because a lot of people set their goal, like she did, and so many of the people that we work with, their goal was, I want to get to Canada. I want to work in the tech ecosystem there, and things are booming in the tech ecosystem. And, we've seen a challenging year for a lot of different businesses, a lot of different verticals, and we've seen a very resilient recovery across different, verticals as well. We've seen, businesses that have been directly impacted for the positive through this crazy time that we've gone through. We've heard of Shopify's, crazy growth in the last 12 months. And, it's really because everything got shifted to e-commerce, and look at what's happening.
Yeah, really interesting. Everything is getting digitalized. That's the thing. And the people who are online have the leverage, and who are not online, they have to get online right now.
Well, yes and no, and this is the opportunity where we're talking about making that impact, and that impact portion is important. I think we were very, very siloed throughout our verticals. Like, hey, you guys are tech, and you're financial, and you're this and this, and it started to cross over, and we're like, now we're fintech, and now we're real prop tech and all this stuff. At the end of the day, we kept telling everyone to kind of come over to our boats. And another friend of mine, Tanya Woods, who runs a project in Kind, she talks about that we need to go to everyone else's boat, and find out from there. I'm sitting in Nova Scotia right now. And there's this monster seafood industry that's traditionally run, and it's, $2 to $3 billion a year industry. And, they know they're making their changes as they adapt, but they're still doing $2.2 billion worth of worth of business.
Yeah.
Without having, getting online. They just say, oh, okay, we get online, we'll make more, we'll do bigger things. But it's not like, so it's, people need to get online, but there's also a responsibility from from us to kind of bridge that gap as well.
Okay. Really interesting. Now the next thing is, so what is global tech, like global skill strategy that you mentioned of the Canadian government, like the step that they took, and like what is it, and are there any proxies for it?
What do you mean by proxies?
Proxies means, so are there any other ways to come to Canada, like as easy as global skill strategy?
Okay. Well, a global skill strategy was, a strategy that was put together by the government. It involved a bunch of different avenues and super clusters and funding and all that stuff as well. But underneath it, they had a program that was launched called the Global Talent Stream, and so that is, essentially a company in Canada gets approved to hire a foreign worker. And what that approval process looks like is what they do is the company makes commitments to helping Canadians somehow. So either through upskilling or through, an increase in diversity and inclusion in the workplace, all these different, there's 8 complementary benefits they pay. Once the company is approved, 2-week process, the candidate goes out and takes that number and applies for a closed work permit to the company, which, could be another 2-month process. It used to be 3-4 week process on the candidate side. And now just with COVID and slowdowns, it takes a bit longer. But there's other programs, immigration programs across Canada, including the express entry, permanent residency programs, other work permit programs, pilots. There's the programs like the Atlantic Immigration nominee program. There's the Ontario nominee programs and so on. So there's definitely a ton of different avenues that are out there. Once again, my focus and, I keep my, is like, if you, fit these things, I have an opportunity probably for you. So great communication skills, 5, 6, 7 years plus of experience and, startup scale up type of backgrounds. There's an opportunity for you for sure. If you qualify through all those steps. In terms of other programs, I'm aware of them, but, there are some incredible immigration professionals that are available and out there. I'm happy to make an introduction to any of them. First, I want to get them, or, we probably get one of them onto your onto your podcast at some point.
Yeah, sure. So we'll see what happens. Now, the thing is, like, how would the process look like if let's say a candidate fits his career? So if someone listening to this podcast says that I have these qualifications, I am good at communications, I have 5, 6, 7 years more experience. And now, how would the process look like for, like, how can they contact you and what would the process look like for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you can go to our website. It's globalskills.io. And maybe you can share the link with your viewers. There's a questionnaire in there on the candidate side, which is kind of our first filter. Fill out that questionnaire and someone from our team will be in touch with you if you do qualify on, kind of some of our filters. Usually what happens is we take you through some technical vetting with some of our partners. We work with you on your resume to help standardize that, make it look like it's more aligned in what recruiters are really going to want to see. And then we start doing a matching and submission process towards clients that we have that would be matching for you. So pretty simple process, but I would recommend that they go to globalskills.io and go through that process there.
Okay. So you take care of all the formalities, I mean, on the CV as well as every other things that are required for them. So now, other than skills, other than personal skills, for sure.
We work with them. We work with them to get that up and running.
Yeah. So do you charge anything for, like, let's say they apply? So when, like, do you charge and how do you charge with them?
Say that again, sir.
So do you like someone is applied, they have enough skills and knowledge, so they apply to. Do you charge anything or?
No, we do everything at our own expense currently. We're compensated by the companies that we have relationships with in Canada, and they cover off, things like
Okay.
the immigration expenses as well as the recruitment, fees that would be associated with this program. So currently, we do not charge. Whether or not that will change in the future, we'll see. But we knew there was a lot of immigration scams out there. We knew there were a lot of fake job postings, phishing, all this stuff that happens, unfortunately. And so in the beginning, we didn't want to charge candidates because we didn't want them to, see that. And so, but we've just kind of held true to that so far. Like I said, I don't know if that will change in the future, but right now, at this point, we do not charge candidates.
Okay. So if anyone is qualified, they can apply to you, like apply through your website, Global Skills
Correct.
website, and then
Yeah.
they will manage everything. Yeah. Okay. That's really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, or we have events that happen as well. So, like for example, we're having a huge hiring event here on April 15th with one of the largest enterprises in Canada in the grocery and e-commerce space. So that might be a great opportunity for them to attend and learn and stuff like that. So, like I said, if they're on our website, they can access all this information and go from there.
Okay. So I think I'll add all the links that are necessary with this podcast as well. And
yeah.
So how do you select a partner company? Like if you want to work, like you see like these are the good company, they're scaling really quickly and they need tech talent. So how do you partner with them and do they directly reach out to you?
It happens through both. A lot of who we work with today is via referral. Because we really want to ensure that the experience works on both sides. So this is not a cheap way to outsource, cheap labor or bring people in and under. These are world-class developers, and they need an environment, and a culture that it's going to be conducive to all parties being completely happy. And so we really value companies that share values with us as well. And so, it's important for them. We hear it in the conversations, when we're talking to them, we hear things like, although everyone's concerned about runway and cash flow and all those things, those are important parts of the business, but through those conversations, when they're saying, hey, we're going to pay market rate, we have to do as a company in order to kind of make this process better, more welcoming for them. When we hear those types of things, it's music to our ears.
Yeah, okay. So you don't see only the money side of thing, also the experience of the employee. So one thing I actually listened to that you try to get the idea of what would a day of an employee would look like in that company. I actually heard from a video that you posted. So how do you do that? How do you make sure that experience is right, that they experience?
Look, all we can do is kind of keep in touch. We built a bit of a community on the ground. It was a lot, one of our challenges during COVID was we didn't get to meet up with everyone as much as we used to. And so we've run Zoom potluck type of conference calls here every couple months. Cheryl, who's our relocation specialist on our team, she's always kind of done an incredible job of community. So we're just keep in touch. It's the best thing to do. These are people that we want to have. These are not, these are relationships that we have. These are people that are coming to Canada. There are people that are entering into the tech ecosystem and so on and so forth. So this isn't a transactional widget that we're just trying to sell and make money off of. It's important to us of what we've done and the impact that we're going to have, years and years from now.
Okay, really interesting. So now another thing, like there the legal processes for both the employers and employees, let's say. So how do you manage that, the legal side of things?
The legal side in terms of them working in the immigration and all of that stuff?
Yeah.
We've got immigration professionals that we work with. We have some people that are actually also in-house in our team, and all of our contracts and all that stuff is always run through, legal teams and stuff like that.
Okay, really interesting. So we're almost at the end. So like the last few things. So So what vision do you see with Global Skills Hub? Like I said, for after where do you see Global Skills Hub after 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I ask myself that question. I have that conversation with myself a lot, and also with our team and stuff like that. I believe that we will be the preeminent global tech recruitment company in Canada and possibly across other countries as they adopt this model in the world. Our number one focus is to bring people to Canada, and we had a goal. We set this big, hairy, audacious goal that we would help, bring 10,000 families to Canada at one point. And, I know our aspirations have gone larger than that. So, we continue to figure out ways on how we're going to bridge these relationships between the world's best talent and Canadian tech companies. What that will look like in the future, if the last year has been any indication, then we know that it's going to be amazing, but we don't know what it'll look like. And so is this going to be all remote? Is it going to be everyone immigrates to Canada? Is it going to be they immigrate to Canada, but they settle in, a certain spot, and they all work remotely from there? Those are all questions that I think a lot of companies are having, and we're having as well. All I know is that, the future for Canada and Canadian tech looks bright. Our doors are open from an immigration standpoint, and we're highly focused as a country in driving skilled immigration into the country, and so we will be the largest, if not one of the largest players, as that unfolds over the next 5 and 10 years.
Okay, that's a really great vision to have. So now, so any last word that you want to share with the audience, like the listeners?
No, I just wanted to, really thank you for your time. I know I've got to jump off here to get onto my next call, but I appreciate you setting this up and taking and doing this. For any of your audience members, you can feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. We send out a lot of content. We're going to be doing a lot more content here. For those of you that are tech workers, please get in contact with us at Global Skills Hub. And I'm just excited for you, Mahmoud. I think you're doing an incredible job, and and as this moves forward for you, and anything we can do to help support you will be amazing.
Yeah, sure. So where exactly can our listeners find you online? So like where? Yes,
you can find me on LinkedIn, or at globalskills.io.
Okay.
Is the best place to find me most days.
Yeah. Okay. So so we will add the links with the podcast description as well. For the people who are watching the video as well. So like we'll have the links with the description or the caption. And yeah, thanks again for coming to the show. I'm sure people enjoyed this time and learned a lot from it. Yeah. So thanks for listeners who are listened, and bye for that.